It's Charles Barkley with Wayfair. It's outdoor season, and my patio setup better be ready to play. That's where Wayfair wins. Patio seating, umbrellas, and grills, all delivered fast and easy. Shop wayfair.ca now.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Debate, interviews, and breaking news. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Trudy Mason sitting in for Elias again this week as his paternity leave continues. We are talking now about a couple of big unions. These are international unions based out of the States, but having members in Canada as well, which have sent a letter to U.S. President Donald Trump complaining about the approach he is taking to Canada-U.S. trade, especially in light of that new round of tariffs that is due to take effect later this month. We're about 2 weeks out from those new 50% tariffs. And the union leaders say that they disagree with the message this is sending about the way industry operates across the border, across the shared border, and about workers on both sides of the border and how they can benefit from certain types of trade. Here to tell us more about why the letter was written and what it says is one of the signatories. Roxanne Brown is International President of the United Steelworkers Union. Roxanne, thank you for joining us on CJAD 800.
Thank you, Trudy, for having me. I appreciate it.
Lay out the numbers for us. How many Canadian members does United Steelworkers have? How many American members?
Sure. We have about 850,000 members between the United States and Canada and the U.S. territories, about 300,000 across Canada, from the west to the east.
And which industries are you most heavily represented in?
In Canada, we're kind of across the board from mining, steel, aluminum, forestry, security, education, higher ed. We really are kind of the union of everything. We're a very diverse union.
I noted in the letter that you sent to U.S. President Donald Trump, you say in the past, you and the other union, which is the International Association of Machinist and Aerospace Workers, have supported Trump administration trade actions, certain of them. However, this round of tariffs, this approach seems to be sticking in your craw, if I can use that term. Why is that?
Well, and I think it's because of, we think, kind of the undue pressure that's been created on the Canadian economy, in particular because the U.S. and Canada have for decades enjoyed such a strong strategic relationship when it comes to not just our economies, but also militarily and defense. Canada has been the U.S.'s best ally, closest ally, and we've been able to really maintain that strong economic relationship. And so these suite of tariffs have really impacted the economy in Canada and USW jobs in Canada. And so with this next round of tariffs that are going to hit in a couple of weeks, we just have significant concerns about what this could mean, not just for our members' jobs in Canada, but jobs in the U.S. that are connected to the jobs in Canada that could be impacted.
I would guess that, the Trump administration might take the approach to this by telling you, well, any jobs that you lose representation for in Canada are going to come back into the States. They're going to be repatriated into the States, and you should be patriotic and promote your American members ahead of your Canadian members on this question. How would you counter that argument if that indeed is the message that you receive?
Yeah, and I don't think our patriotism is in question, at all. But we are an international union, and it is our charge to represent our members in both of our countries. We strongly strive for the benefit and the livelihoods, the ability of our members to make a living in both countries. The ability to take care of their families, the ability to play a role in their communities, right, across both of our countries. That's our charge. And so if we see policies that could potentially impact our members' jobs, whether those policies are here in the United States or in Canada, we're going to speak up. That's our charge as the steelworkers, and that's our commitment to our members across both countries. And so that's where we stand, and that's where we'll continue to stand.
Have you had a response to the letter? It was sent by way of Jameson Greer, who is the U.S. Trade Representative, and I guess you were addressing the Trump administration in general and the president. From any level, have you had a response?
Not yet to the letter, but this is not the first time that we've raised this issue with Ambassador Greer. And to be fair, it's been a free-flowing engagement with the United States Trade Ambassador on this issue. The letter was not a surprise because he's heard this concern not just from our union but also from the machinists from the beginning of the Trump administration when these tariffs were being placed on Canada. We felt we really needed to re-up it in this very formal way because of these additional tariffs and this additional pressure that's going to be created on our members' jobs. And so what we want to do right now is to continue to engage with Ambassador Greer around this next round of tariffs, and especially in the context of CUSMA, right, and USMCA, and that whole process moving forward, that there's a path forward for us that avoids impacting our members' jobs across both countries.
Would you like to see CUSMA renewed?
CUSMA is, for all of the challenges that still exist with it, the three countries that are in CUSMA really do rely on an agreement moving forward. The economies really have come to a place where they rely on an agreement. And so, we've been very much engaged with the trade negotiators on both sides to try to make changes that are needed to make that agreement one that actually works for working people across all countries and works for industries, particularly in the United States and Canada.
You make the point in your letter. You say, unlike our trade relationship with Mexico, U.S.-Canada trade is more balanced with wage, labor, environmental, and other key issues that are aligned and compatible. And I think this is one of the reasons why Canadians have been so disheartened by this Trump approach to trade, is that there are differences. There are, in some cases, pretty significant differences in the way we approach industry, how we regulate industry, and so on. But we're much closer to the U.S., for example, than we are to Mexico or other countries. So it's kind of like more of a slap in the face.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the pieces that we continue to work through with the administration around CUSMA, / USMCA. Again, this harkens back to just the longstanding relationship. Workers across the United States and Canada, have the higher standards, right, as compared to Mexico, where workers in Mexico struggle to really earn a good living in the jobs, often the same jobs that our members in the United States and Canada are involved in, right? The standard of living, the standard of wages, the standard of safety and health, and on and on and on. So markedly different in Mexico as compared to the United States and Canada. We are aligned in so many things, and that alignment should continue forward, and that's where we're committed to make sure that our two countries can move through this kind of difficult period that we're in, and maintain that relationship that we've had historically.
Thank you for the interview, Roxanne. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Roxanne Brown, International President of the United Steelworkers Union. After the traffic update, we are going to check in with B'nai Brith. It has been keeping a worried eye on recent incidents here in Montreal that are suspected strongly in some quarters of being anti-Semitic.
It's Charles Barkley with Wayfair. It's outdoor season, and my patio set up, they'll be ready to play. That's where Wayfair wins. Patio seating, umbrellas, and grills, all delivered fast and easy. Shop wayfair.ca now.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.
Breaking news. Considered. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
You've been hearing the headlines for months and months and months now. These are only the most recent incidents here in Montreal and beyond that are being investigated as potential hate crimes. There have been two recent cases in Toronto as well of businesses targeted. That's about a week ago. A Montreal restaurant, a kosher restaurant here in Montreal, was the target of an arson attack over the weekend. That is suspected as a potential hate crime, although the police have not weighed in on that question yet. We also have an investigation underway after some soccer fans with CF Montreal chanted something hateful during a game last weekend when a player, an Israeli-born player with the New England Revolution, scored a goal. He was greeted with a hateful chant. Here from B'nai Brith Canada is Paola Samuel, Quebec and Atlantic Regional Director of B'nai Brith. Thank you for joining us, Paola.
Hi, good morning.
There's an op-ed today, an opinion piece by Beryl Wiseman in the National Post saying that it is not to the advantage of the Jewish community to jump to conclusions that any given crime had a hate motive. I think he was referring largely to that fire at the kosher restaurant here in Montreal yesterday. But certainly there are strong suspicions about that and other recent events. What is the approach that B'nai Brith is taking?
So we are definitely not going to. We're leaving the police to do their proper investigation, and it's with the arson squad to see what actually happened. I actually saw the video of the man who was putting the accelerant around the building and then set it on fire, the restaurant. So it is quite correct that we do not yet know whether or not this was an anti-Semitic, Jew-hating, targeting the Jewish community act. What we do know is that a beloved kosher restaurant that has become the place to go for kosher people, non-kosher people, Jewish people, non-Jewish people. It was a family restaurant. It was a fun restaurant filled with love, is now gutted, burnt down, burnt to the ground. It happened on the morning of Shabbat. And so we can be cautious in what we say in terms of the motive, but that doesn't take away from the feeling of vulnerability that the community is feeling, the feeling of, just all the feelings that we are going through because yet another very visibly Jewish building or institution has been attacked.
Concerning the hateful chant at that soccer game last weekend when the CF Montreal supporters and not only chanted but also threw things at the Israeli-born player with the New England Revolution, an investigation has been promised. I think the chant being "Death to Israel" was the one most commonly reported in that case. Would B'nai Brith consider that an anti-Semitic incident by Montreal fans?
So the New England Revolution actually put out a statement this weekend very clearly calling it anti-Semitism and calling out, they said they've contacted the MLS and I believe that the CF Montreal statement was a reaction to obviously all the feedback that they got and all the comments that they got. So it's already being called anti-Semitic by the New England Revolution. And just to clarify what actually happened is the fans started yelling death to Israel and yelling really hateful things towards him way before he scored a goal. They just knew that he was Israeli born, and they started targeting him. And then he scored that goal, and he went to celebrate in front of them, and that's when they got even more heated, and the CF Montreal goalie hit him and then went after him. So it happened way before the goal. He purposely went, from what we can see, to celebrate in front of those fans, to show them, you can hate me, but I'm still going to score the goals and do what I do and play for my team. So and then bottles were thrown at him and cups were thrown at him. And our biggest concern isn't whether or not it was anti-Semitic, because it was obviously hateful comments that were thrown at only an Israeli-born player. Nobody else got those hateful comments thrown at them. And our biggest concern is, where was the security? Why were they not kicked out? Why were these fans allowed to remain in the stadium while all this was going on? And it just escalated. So that's B'nai Brith, that's our concern, is where are the security? What would have happened if this was aimed at any other member of a minority? If it was a black player or a Muslim player or a gay player or any, go down the list. So that's what we're focusing on, and we're going to let CF Montreal do their investigation. We're big fans of CF Montreal. We're not going against them, but we are very concerned that the security at Saputo Stadium wasn't doing their job.
I have seen some discussion online about whether the goalie should be given the benefit of the doubt until he's able to speak, because there are some commentators who seem to think what he was trying to do was de-escalate what he thought was a dangerous situation by moving that player away from the fans and getting in between the fans and that player in order to encourage him to move back, because he feared the worst, that they'd come out of the stands and there'd be even worse. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what the goalie says and what the team says about that.
But I do want to add one thing, and that's totally possible. We want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but then the goalie chased after him afterwards. So when he went around the other side, he chased after him afterwards. So I'm not really sure what happened. Obviously, for a lot of people who are watching it, you can't hear what's going on the other side of the stadium, but New England Revolution believes something very different in their statement.
Tell us about B'nai Brith and its position on whether we should be looking at some type of a national, inquiry commission, a national look at these types of occurrences, because it's not just Montreal, it's Toronto, it's elsewhere, and the numbers seem to be accelerating. Are you in favor of some type of a commission, some type of a look at this, Paola?
We are 100% calling for just that, just to, we are B'nai Brith. Look, we are 1%. The Jewish population of Canada is 1% of the population, and we are the targets of 70% of the religious-based hate crime. This isn't just a few incidents now. This has been happening and escalating since October 7th. B'nai Brith, we have called it as a national crisis of anti-Semitism. This is not just a few incidents anymore. And so, yes, we are calling on, we have an 8-point program that we've presented to the government. We are calling on a lot of different things, and that includes looking into this very seriously, and not just more words and more platitudes about how we are being targeted, but actual action and actual things that will change the course of this rising anti-Semitism. And it's completely unacceptable, and it's completely un-Canadian.
Have you had any reaction at the political level to your call?
Not directly, no. We have, as we all saw, Mark Carney did do a press conference calling out anti-Semitism. But in terms of the kind of action that we think is necessary, we have not gotten any feedback yet, and any action, quite frankly.
Are you losing hope?
Look, we're never going to lose hope. Canada is, on a personal level, is my country. My parents came here as immigrants from Egypt. And they were welcomed and fell in love with Montreal and Canada. So we're not losing hope. We're here, we're fighting, and we're determined to change the tide of hate. but we are sitting in a crisis of anti-Semitism like nothing we've ever seen, and it's no longer okay to just say it's horrible and all the platitudes that we get, and we hear that it's anti-Semitism. We are in a crisis of anti-Semitism in Canada, and it needs to be addressed in the proper way and in an urgent way.
Paola Samuel, thank you for joining us on CJAD.
Thank you.
Paola Samuel is Quebec and Atlantic Regional Director at B'nai Brith Canada. After Tom's 10:30 update, we will take a closer look at that $1.9 billion going into Via Rail at the top of the shopping list. Some new locomotives, and some of those assembled here in Canada. Coming up.
It's Charles Barkley with Wayfair. It's outdoor season, and my patio setup, that'll be ready to play. That's where Wayfair wins. Patio seating, umbrellas, and grills, all delivered fast and easy. Shop wayfair.ca now.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Clock. The Elias Macco Show on demand.
On demand. Don't miss a thing.
Find your favorite clips at CJAD800.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
$1.9 billion of investment in Via Rail. That includes 45 new hybrid battery diesel locomotives. We'll get the details coming up.
Miss something? It's never been easier to catch up.
Find CJAD 800 podcasts on the iHeartRadio app. iHeartRadio.
Or click audio on our page.
On our page. CJAD800.com.
CJAD800.com.
It's Charles Barkley with Wayfair. It's outdoor season, and my patio setup, that'll be ready to play. That's where Wayfair wins. Patio seating, umbrellas, and grills, all delivered fast and easy. Shop wayfair.ca now.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
CA.
La STN vous souhaite la bienvenue à bord.
Doing his best to get you there on time. This is In Transit on the Elias Macco Show, CJAD 800.
And we are taking a look at an investment, a rather big one, into Via Rail service. Now, this initial investment, it's not the sexy one involving any upgrades to the passenger cars. It has to do with locomotives, but the indications are this is the first that we may see, and there could be more. If you've traveled long distance by train in Canada, you know that that Via Rail probably, the locomotives probably need an upgrade. We're starting to look, for example, at battery-powered locomotives now. Some jurisdictions have already started the switch. In what is one of the bigger investments in passenger rail in the past number of years, Ottawa will be spending $1.9 billion to replace the aging long-distance locomotive fleet. That means that some of these locomotives are going to be built here in Canada after the Canadian assembly teams get some instruction by Stadler overseas. And it also means a new assembly and maintenance facility here in Montreal. With more detail, we welcome Karl Helou, Senior Advisor, External Communications and Corporate Spokesperson with Via Rail Canada. Good morning, Karl.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Welcome news, this $1.9 billion coming your way?
Absolutely. This is the largest fleet investment in Via Rail history. It brings locomotive assembly back to Canada. It gives Canadian workers a skill we currently do not have, and it secures services that connects communities across the country for the next generation. So yeah, absolutely positive news.
Tell us about how the Canadian crews are going to be trained to bring this assembly to Canada.
Yeah, so as you said, we're acquiring 45 new hybrid battery diesel locomotives, and up to 36 of them will be assembled here in Canada. So for a quick timeline, over the next year, we're going to continue design with the supplier, and then they are going to start working on building some of those locomotives in Spain. And we'll see Canadian workers go overseas, be trained on their facilities to assemble them. And once we'll be ready to go ahead on our end, they'll come back with that knowledge. They'll come back in a brand new assembly and maintenance facility that we're going to build here in Montreal, and that's where they're going to start assembling locomotives that will be serving Canadians.
Have you chosen a location for that assembly facility yet?
Yes, it will be right next to our current maintenance center in Pointe Saint-Charles.
So yeah, that community has a long tie to rail infrastructure, so it seems like a natural fit there. We have a text in that's talking about the price, $1.9 billion. We're talking 45 new hybrid battery diesel locomotives. Is that the total for the locomotives, or are there other things thrown in there, such as the assembly plant?
So we're looking at about $1.6 billion total for the locomotives, for the spare parts over the next 20 years. And then we are looking at $357 million for that facility that's going to be built right here in Montreal.
And jobs-wise, when you factor in all that money being spent, what is the job creation total?
So on top of the specialized knowledge that I mentioned, we're going to create about 1,200 years of full-time job over the life of the project, direct and indirect. And if we take into account the locomotives, the jobs, the building of the facility, the outfitting of the facility, we're looking at upwards of $450 million in economic benefits for Canada. And that's just for the locomotives, because there's a whole fleet of car coming in as well.
The redesigned passenger cars.
Yeah, exactly. We're still working on the procurement process, so there's not much detail I can offer right now. But yes, this is going to create tremendous opportunities for Canadians and for Montrealers.
How do hybrid battery diesel locomotives function?
So basically like your regular hybrid car. So the engine works with diesel and operates through the country with diesel, but there's also that battery inside the train, which will allow to either provide extra power in steep slopes, for example, or also to go diesel free and on battery mode if the train needs to go through sensitive areas or for any reason. So what we're looking at is a first in North America. There's no other hybrid passenger locomotives in America. And we're also looking at a lot of optimization and reduction in fuel consumption thanks to that dual mode of propulsion with the locomotives.
When it's in the electric mode on the battery, are the locomotives quieter?
We would believe so. There's still details being hashed out about the specific protocols, but yeah, quieter, less emissions. So yeah, that's really why this is an innovative type of locomotive that we're bringing here with this project.
I'm just thinking that might be interesting, not only in places that might be ecologically sensitive for wildlife when you don't want a lot of diesel emissions, or you're going through tunnels where you don't want a lot of diesel emissions, but also just if you're going through the suburbs of Montreal, like some Via Rail lines do, you might switch to electric for quieter, less polluting movement of your trains. Is that a possibility?
That's all in the realm of possibilities. And as you said, the train goes through the most pristine part of Canada's nature, right, between Vancouver and Toronto. So yeah, all of that is possible, and we really can expect a better environmental performance out of those locomotives.
I see that we're not going to see the new locomotives in the Quebec City-Windsor corridor. Why is that?
You're right, because we have procured a brand new fleet specifically for the Quebec City-Windsor corridor. People might have seen them, but this announcement is specifically about our long-distance, regional, and remote routes. So we're talking about Toronto, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Churchill, Sudbury, White River, Montreal, Halifax. So all of those lines outside of the main corridor where we're really doing long distance travel, where, oftentimes the train service is an essential service. So again, this is a great news for connectivity through the country.
Just another point is I'm struggling to get my head around the hybrid nature of the propulsion with the battery and the diesel operating. Is the battery regenerated, recharged while the train is in motion?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Because last we checked, there's no electrical recharge stations in the middle of the nature, in the prairies, or in the Rockies. So yes, this is how it's going to work.
That now I get it. Now I have a clearer picture of that's going to work. How soon will we see the first of these hybrid locomotives on the lines?
So in 2026 we're going to complete the design. The build and the assembly is in 2028, and then we receive the trains, the locomotives, in 2029, and then we start the testing, static tests, dynamic tests in climatic chambers, and then the harshest test we can find is operation between Winnipeg and Churchill. And Churchill is really up far north. That route really offers some of the harshest winter conditions in Canada. So this is where really the crux of the testing will be done. So we can expect, depending on the winter conditions, we can expect those locomotives to enter service in 2029 or 2030.
And the new cars that you're referencing, the passenger cars, you're still in kind of in the procurement process. How soon would we see those?
Well, again, the process is ongoing, so there's not much detail, but we're going to have great news about that in the coming months.
Oh, okay. So you haven't quite set a date publicly yet for those. It is, can I ask, is there a chance they would be assembled in Canada as well? Any new passenger cars?
That's a great question that will be answered during the announcement.
Okay, so we're going to have to wait on both of those, I guess. Thank you very much, Karl Helou, for sharing this information with us today.
Well, thank you for welcoming me.
Karl Helou, Senior Advisor, External Communications and Corporate Spokesperson with Via Rail Canada.
It's Charles Barkley with Wayfair. It's outdoor season, and my patio setup better be ready to play. That's where Wayfair wins. Patio seating, umbrellas, and grills, all delivered fast and easy. Shop wayfair.ca now.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hello, Canada. This is Bryan Adams Radio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll.
Coming to get you!
One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them.
It's only love, and that's all.
Bryan Adams Radio.
I'm coming back to you.
Now available on the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey everybody, how are you tonight? Sounds great.
Montreal, the everyday and the extraordinary. The Elias Macco Show on CJAD 800.
Trudy Mason sitting in for Elias, and there is a kind of strange, almost bureaucratic twist to the way services to Anglophones needing treatment for addiction is now being handled on and off the island of Montreal. And as a result, there's some concern that Anglos will not have the same choices that they used to have when it comes to addiction treatment. My guest is Bruno Ferrari, president of the Standing Committee on Treatment with the Association Québécoise des Centres d'Intervention en Dépendance. Bruno, thanks for joining us on CJAD.
Good morning, Trudy.
Who does the association represent, Bruno?
Well, the association is representing 63 treatment centers, community treatment centers, meaning non-profit organizations, because there's also another block of treatment centers that are for-profit in Quebec, but they are not included in this group of represented by the AQCID.
All right. So you represent nonprofit treatment organizations. We know that Santé Québec has been engaged in a reorganization of healthcare delivery, and there's a lot of moving around of services and titles from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Can you give us a rundown of what has happened to how cases of Anglos asking for addiction treatment are being processed?
Well, it's a long story, so I'm not sure we have enough time for that, but if I try to make it short, there was a contract between the CIS of Montérégie West and the CIUS of Montreal Centre Sud. For different reasons, the Montérégie was in charge of offering specific treatment centers, inpatient treatment centers, and also outpatient through this contract, for people from Montreal. So the story is a long story because it's been not only this reorganization process, but it's the two previous reorganization processes that have been bringing this condition, And this contract was discussed between the two parties, CISMO and the CIUS of Centre Sud. And they decided for ending this condition on the 30th of March. So meaning the 1st of April of 2026, the contract was over. So there was something that was offered to people from Montreal, English speakers of Montreal, that at that point is not the same. And what the CIUS is saying is that they did include it or integrated the service for English speakers in the overall services for Montrealers, if you want, So they said, no, we do have counselors that are English speakers, so we can offer the treatment and everything. But it's not absolutely not what was offered before by the CISMO. The CISMO had many contracts around with different treatment centers, like the one I'm the executive director for, which is Villavie, and it's a bilingual treatment center that is located in Terrebonne. So it means that we do have a contract with the CISMO, but we don't have a contract with the CIUS. So I hope that clarifies or answers the questions. I'm not sure of that, because it's a long story.
And a frustrating one when you think about it, because this is strictly a bureaucratic move to divvy up responsibility. But you're saying the upshot is Anglos are not getting the choices that they used to have when it was the other option based on the South Shore that was, kind of coordinating services. What types of options have been eliminated? What are Anglos being offered now if they want treatment?
Well, again, I'm going to try to make it short because the answer would be very long, but let's say the CIUS of the Centre Sud has a network of services, which is very important and very good. First of all, outpatient services, which is obviously responding to a certain amount of need of people, that is struggling with addiction. Then after, they do have a program that is a 21 days inpatient program, and it's the same that they used to have before. So they say that an English speaker from Montreal could or would, if they would need a 21 days program, they can, ask for a program at that place, and but that's it, Then after, if people are willing to go to a long-term program, let's say a 3, 4, 6 month program, because of different need that are, that we can find usually in people that are more, affected by drug abuse. So before they used to have this option that was clearly offered by the CISMO, because CISMO has a specific contract with different centers in Montérégie and in other regions, like for example the Dunham Center in Estrie, which is a English-speaking only, a treatment center, and with Villavis that is in Terrebonne. So they used to have access to different options, and they do not have this access for now. So what happened is that there's a double impact. First of all, when CIUS say they can go to the 21 days program, the problem is that it's already loaded. I mean, with French people and with English speakers people from Montreal. I mean, anyway, it's full, and you have a waiting list and everything. So they don't realize that the CIUS, and I try to tell them, with full respect, but they don't understand that these people, if they don't have an answer or an open option from the CIUS, what they do is that they call us. They call in other places, outside Montreal. They can go to any place, because they need to have access to a treatment center, So at the CIUS, they say, no, we do answer the request. And if people, they can wait, and they will have access. But it is not like that it works, The people really need to have an answer. Families need to have answers, And what we do is that we answer all day, and to many requests from English speakers, but not only from English speakers from Montreal. The problem is that in Montreal, in general, there's not enough beds to answer the requests of these people,
Well, the lack of beds certainly seems to defeat the argument that it's better to have treatment close to you. That's certainly what the Regional Health Board, the CIUS, is saying, is that, or the agency is saying, is that, oh no, it's much better to have the services on the island close to where people live, as opposed to scattered all over the South Shore. But if you're saying they have no capacity, what's the benefit? What are you hearing about wait times to get into the on-island treatment programs?
Yeah, well, and the first point anyway, we should discuss about that. The fact that the offer has to be on the island, it's true for people that are not that much affected by the drug abuse. But people that are really affected, that they lost their job, they lost their home, whatever, these people, what they are looking for is a place maybe that is a bit outside the island, because it's the island is related to whatever is their lifestyle that is around drug abuse. I mean, they say that because in Quebec we have these regions, administrative definition of the regions. That's why this is the main reason why they say that, is that if somebody from Montreal gets to a center in Montreal, which is good. I mean, it's important to have centers in Montreal. Well, it's better, it's easier, because we don't have to sign a contract or make an agreement with other centers. But the fact is that these people, many times what they do is that they go outside Montreal to find a place, because they want to go outside Montreal by the time they do the treatment, and then after they come back home, So it's not true what was said with the question of the geographic issue. It's partly true. Then after, the numbers are the numbers. I mean, and that's another problem, is that we are not running our answers to this problematic through a population-based approach. We're running it with this kind of saying, oh no, we can answer if there's a waiting list, but we do have an answer. Yeah, but what is the population-based approach? How many beds should we need? How many requests there is? What I do on my side is always, if I have a meeting with Montreal's, managers for the public network, I always tell them, look, this is what I received as a request from Montrealers, including English speakers and French speakers, and I always tell them, look, people are calling us. It's not because they did find an answer through your services. It's because they either want something else or they didn't find the answers they wanted when they call you. I mean, if they would find the answer, then they wouldn't call us and call the Dunham House in Estrie and call many other centers that are there, for offering a program that maybe is different and is responding better to their needs.
Bruno, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the interview.
Thank you for the invitation.
Bruno Ferrari, president of the Standing Committee on Treatment for the Association québécoise des centres d'intervention en dépendance. After the news, if you were affected by the WestJet strike, you might be kind of sympathetic to this. A discussion of whether or not the right to strike by those types of airline workers should be limited. That's coming up.
This newscast is brought to you by Supermarché Acavan. Discover fresh halal barbecue meats, hot bread made daily, homemade hummus, delicious prepared foods, and your favorite Persian products. Supermarché Acavan.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.